Thank you. For those of you who have been with us before, you know a little bit about how these go. For those of you who may be new and joining for the first time, we appreciate that you're here. We ask that you please keep your microphones muted until the end of the conversation, until the end of the presentations, I should say, the end of our speakers, because then one of the most important parts of the community conversation happens. We'll open the mics and we'll have a conversation with you, our community, and we welcome everyone to engage at that point. If you have any questions or comments throughout the presentation, you can certainly use the chat function. We'll go back through that chat at the end and address your comments and questions. We'll make sure we go back and pick those up. Want you to know that we're recording this conversation and we're also streaming tonight on Facebook Live. So that means that this will be available for later viewing. If you have a friend or a colleague who misses this tonight, they can go back and view the recording. If you do not want to be recorded, then we invite you to turn your camera off during this conversation. So for those of you who are new joining us this evening, you may not know much about SRQ Strong. We are a growing group of Sarasota and I add increasingly Manatee County neighbors. We're committed to learning about trauma and responding to its impact. And as I mentioned before, since the pandemic and since everything has been moving to virtual platforms, we've actually started to reach a national and even international following of supporters. So we have people joining us tonight from various states, and sometimes we'll have people from other countries. Our mission at SRQ Strong is to promote community-wide trauma awareness through healing, education, action, and leadership. And our vision is to create a community that cares for itself. So what can you do if you'd like to be involved? You can be part of this conversation, and we have community forums like this one every other month. You can get involved with us in this way. You can become part of this trauma-informed, resilient movement on the Gulf Coast of Florida. You can also join a working group or register for workshops or trainings that we hold. And to do that, you would want to go to our website, which is www.srqstrong.org, or you can email us at sarasotastrong@gmail.com. Our topics for these kinds of community conversations are driven by you. So we always invite you to email us if you have an idea for a conversation. We would love to hear what that is. And you can email us your idea, or you could put it in the chat tonight. So let me get to tonight. We're very excited tonight because we have some great speakers with us. And we're going to be talking about how trauma and toxic stress impact the youth of our communities. Now, many of you know that there's been a lot of research and studies done on what we call adverse childhood experiences. That is trauma, toxic stress, those kinds of things that happen sometimes in childhood that have an impact on children and youth. And it's very important that we look at this in part because children and youth their brains are still forming and developing. And so when they experience toxic stress or trauma, that can create some long-term impact on their mental health, on their physical health. They could end up with, as you know, problems with drug and alcohol abuse, sometimes issues with school performance and productivity later in life. So for us at SRQ Strong, we think it's very important that we all look at these at ways that we can prevent trauma and adverse childhood experiences, but also ways that we can support youth who may be experiencing some of those things now. There's a lot of stress and trauma on youth these days. So it's more important than ever that we provide support early before serious problems develop. In tonight's conversation, you're going to hear about innovative prevention programs being offered in the Manatee County schools. Students, family, and school perspectives will be offered on how these programs can help our youth. So, I want to introduce our speakers tonight, and I'm going to introduce them in the order that they'll be speaking with us. Again, I remind you that if you have, as the speakers give us their information and tell us some stories about their programs, please put in the chat if you have questions or comments. And then toward the end of tonight, we're going to have a community conversation where we'll ask you if you have questions, and we'll call on you, and we'll also go back to that chat and grab those comments and questions. So it's my pleasure to introduce our speakers tonight. The first one is Valerie Green. She started as a program manager with Healthy Teens, and since then she's moved into the program director role, and you're going to hear a lot about Healthy Teens tonight. Allie Bergman is with us. She's the executive director of North River Prevention Partners, which is a nonprofit dedicated to creating community partnerships to implement universal substance abuse prevention strategies to promote the health and safety of individuals across the lifespan, especially among youth. We also have tonight, I'm very excited to say, a young man, Anthony Longo, who's a senior right now at Palmetto High School. He's a teen health educator with Healthy Teens. He's also been involved with a program called Renew, and you're going to hear a little bit about his experience and his growth into those leadership roles as a teen. Jonathan Evans is here with us tonight. He's the executive director of Healthy Teens, and he will be in a way interviewing Anthony. So we get a little bit of a different format for tonight's conversation. And then we'll have Jessica Kruger, who's a licensed clinical social worker who currently serves as Centerstone's manager of school-based prevention and intervention programs. And she'll talk a little bit about the partnership of Centerstone and the schools. And then Sarah Sanders is with us. She's the mental health coordinator and lead school psychologist for the school district of Manatee, where she has served for almost 20 years after graduating from Southeast High School and the University of Central Florida. So with those folks introduced to you, we're really excited to have them give us the benefit of their experience tonight and help us learn what we can do and what is being done for youth in our communities. So I am now going to turn it over to our speakers and let them begin the program.
Hello, everyone. My name is Valerie Green, and as Andrea said, I'm the program director with Healthy Teens. And what Healthy Teens is an organization that bases what we do on peer education. I call that our secret sauce. Our teens that we take through extensive training, go into the community, and they talk to other teens about health-related topics. Our teens get training on things like mental health, sexual health, substance abuse, bullying, and many other things. And lately, we've been getting a lot of requests to do things based on trauma, stress, anxiety, and depression. We believe that when our teenagers are talking to other teenagers, the message is received differently. So again, our secret sauce, this is what makes us work. And we are so proud of these teenagers. They range in age from 14 to 19. And They are representative of Manatee and Sarasota counties. Most of them are very good students, but they don't have to be straight A quality, but they're great students, wonderful individuals that want to be leaders in their community and want to be able to make an impact. One of the things that they do is go to places like, let's say, Boys and Girls Club, a safe place to be, youth shelter, among others. And they do these different workshops. They're normally about an hour in length, but it's so impactful when you have young people spreading that message. These are things that they're not going to hear in school on a regular basis. We would love to get to that point, but we do some things that are not talked about in the classroom all the time that are a little bit more on the side there. So when we talk about sexual health, we do it from a very holistic point of view. We talk about things like consent, and we talk about things like making good choices, making sure that the people that you're dealing with are partners of your choice. So we don't just look at the act, we look at everything that goes around that. Also, when we talk about mental health, stress, depression, anxiety, we are talking to these students about things that they're facing on a daily, regular basis. We talk about how school impacts that, how relationships impact that, how the pandemic affected them moving forward, and how their relationships are. So again, I am ultra proud of these young people who have taken on the mantle to go in the community and talk to other young people about what we do. We've been around since 2014, and we were created in a response to teenage pregnancy rates. But since then, we have blossomed to do a lot of other things that are serious issues in our community. And we have been very privileged to partner with North River Prevention Partners, whose executive director is Allie Bergman. So I'm going to let her share a few things as well. She is an awesome partner to Healthy Teens.
Hi, thank you, Valerie. That was a kind thing to say. It's my honor always to partner with Healthy Teens, and we are privileged enough to partner with a lot of people and organizations and agencies in Manatee and Sarasota counties. Typically, you might think that a substance abuse prevention coalition would only work on substances, but there are lots of different reasons people use substances, and sometimes that comes down to mental health. And so we work an awful lot lately in the promotion of mental wellness and making sure that our community has the information they need to make informed choices for themselves when it comes to maintaining their mental health, and to, especially for our young people, to resist using alcohol and other drugs as a means to cope with that. To that end, I spend a lot of time with partners like Valerie at Healthy Teens, and the counselors and clinical social workers at Centerstone, and even some private practitioners like Dr. Stacy Herrera in some of our initiatives and our programs. And tonight we're going to talk to you a little bit about Renew. Renew stands for Reducing Negativity, Elevating Wellness, and it is a program we are currently piloting. So it's still very, very new for us. And we're about to start our third cohort here this spring. And we'll tell you a lot more about it. But I want to tell you really, really quickly why North River Prevention Partners even got started in something like this. We were having a community event called Let's Talk. And that is an event where we bring together teenagers and their parents, caregivers, community leaders, and other adults in their lives for a meal, and then an open table discussion, small discussions at different tables, open subjects. We talk about what the kids want to talk about, and the adults in the room just kind of zip our lips and listen. While I was at the event, one of the young ladies that was at my table, a freshman at Parish Community High School at the time, was stating how much she really enjoyed having the suicide hotline number printed on the back of their school IDs. Take a second to think about why we have to have that, why it's a resource for these kids. And it's really kind of sad, and it can be overwhelming if you think too deeply about it. But this young lady was grateful for it. And she said, "What am I supposed to do before I feel like I have to call this number?" And that was really something that galvanized North River Prevention into looking into ways we could use our knowledge about primary prevention in the mental health realm. I have some experience like that of my own with my own children in mental health issues and challenges. So I knew that they were resources out there, but I also knew they weren't easy to access. So started talking and to my colleagues in Manatee County and came up with Renew. We developed it in partnership with Healthy Teens and Telement Therapy, and it's really been quite the ride and very promising, and we can't wait to tell you more about it.
All right, great. So we hope that that set a little context for our next two speakers. And Allie and Valerie, thank you very much. And we know you're going to stay on in case we have questions for you during the community conversation part, right? So thank you so much. So the next couple of speakers are really, let me just say, I think Anthony's the star of the show tonight, right? Because we want to hear from youth what it's like for them, what they've been dealing with, and then how these programs have helped them. And Anthony is now someone who can speak to his experience, not only dealing with some of this stress, but also his experience helping others, helping teens, and being a leader. So, Jonathan, I know you're going to kind of be like the interviewer on the spot, and Anthony is going to be the guy who tells the story. So let me introduce you two, and let's go to that part of our evening.
Great, thank you, Andrea. Yeah, my name's Jonathan Evans. I'm the Executive Director of Healthy Teens. It's great to be here. Thank you so much for joining this conversation. By doing so, you're demonstrating that you care about our youth, you care about their future, you care about their well-being, and you want to see what you can do to make a difference as well. So I'm really thrilled that you're here. Yeah, so we're going to get to Anthony and hear his story because first of all, we're really proud of Anthony and the work that he's done as a teen health educator, but also, and he's a representative of so many young people on our program. We were planning this session and loving the little thread we had of Palmetto High School and thinking through services for mental health students. So, Anthony, you're going to get to introduce yourself through this first question. So, can you just tell everyone a bit about who you are, what you're doing at the moment? And yeah, just tell us like your background, just like, you know, you grew up here, that kind of thing.
Hi guys, my name is Anthony. I'm in 12th grade. I go to Palmetto High School. Like hobbies wise, I dance and I do some weightlifting, and I'm just trying to go to UF right now, doing a lot of scholarships. And yeah, that's about it for my background right now. Yeah.
So you are a teen health educator with Healthy Teens. You're wearing the polo shirt, representing really well than I am tonight. So can you just explain to everyone what is a teen health educator? What do you do? And why did you decide to be one?
Yeah, so basically I feel like we're like a peer education kind of, we get taught about all of these cool topics like drugs, sex health, and mental health. That's a big one. And then we get, it's like a 2 months of education, and then we go out and then into our community, including my high school, and then we teach other people our age about these topics. And so like Valerie mentioned before, we go to the Boys and Girls Clubs and the Safe Place to Be, and it's really fun. And I really like what I do too, because I see the impact in my own community. Because when you go to the Boys and Girls Clubs, you keep going back sometimes, and you make a connection with the kids. And same with at my high school, I actually see some of the people, like one eats lunch right next to me. Like, I taught them about the stuff. It's really cool. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Anthony. And just so everyone's aware, like, so when you first joined Healthy Teens, would this kind of this scenario right now where you're presenting to all these people you never met, would that be something that you would find exciting or terrifying?
Absolutely no way. It'd be terrifying. You guys have put me in front of so many crowds and kids. It's just like,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. We've definitely seen that Anthony's like growing through confidence of realizing he can have an impact on his peers and just needs to get the opportunities. It's one thing that I feel is a really big takeaway is that when young people realize they have the opportunity to do this kind of thing and talk together, they just gain confidence from talking about it. So that's the first thing. Okay, so Anthony, the first time that I really interacted with you was through a program called Teen Mental Health First Aid, coincidentally led by Ali over at the Pirates of Boys and Girls Club. So it just keeps going round and around. That one wasn't on purpose. But if Anthony, could you just explain what that is? What did you what was that course? What did you do? What did you learn? Why do you think it was important that you participated?
Yeah, so while we were there, we were training, we learned how to open conversations about mental health and, substance challenges. And we also got taught how to see common signs of symptoms of mental health and substance abuse, and then the impact of school violence and bullying and like mental well-being. So like it was a whole roster of stuff we learned, and it was really great. And I think it's just important to teach all this stuff because like in the end, like I strongly, like we were talking about this before, I believe in the power of educating youth about these like important topics before rather than, solving it after they already had a crisis or an experience. If we
Yeah.
teach them now, they can prevent it. Yeah.
And do you think that's an experience that you think everyone should go through that kind of training? Do you think it's something that's for just for some people? Or do you think that first aid training could be useful for anybody?
I think that could not only be useful for anybody, like literally anybody. It was great knowledge to know. Like, I feel like I've helped a few friends just like get through stuff. Like, I'm like, oh, I know how to do this. Like, and then I feel like it could be taught in schools just so easily. It was like 3 days, and then I still remember a lot of it. Like, it's very useful information. I think should be way more out there. Yeah.
100%. I was in the room as the staff member for Healthy Teams, and I learned so much from that program. Ali, you're an amazing instructor, just to say. But the image that really caught me was, the difference with the teen health, mental health first aid is the same as if you're the first on the scene of an accident and you want to save someone's life in the short term, like get them the help that they need from a doctor who's more trained than you. I really thought that was an amazing analogy for what we're doing. We're not putting we're not asking too we're not asking too much of young people or even adults in this situation. We're saying here are some ways you can help get someone to the help that they need. There's an empowering thing to be able to do for anybody. So I'd highly recommend anyone to take the adult version of mental health first aid training, but there is incredibly a teen version that Ali and her team are carrying out. And I know other organizations, I think Dr. Herrera does it as well. Like we have an amazing group of people doing this training in our community. Okay, so Renew, we talked about Renew, reducing negativity, elevating wellness. How did you feel when we came to you and said, hey, would you like to talk to peers in your school about mental health, these kids that know you in your school? How do you feel?
Oh, honestly, it was freaky because I knew I recognized some of them, but in the end, it was like they're just friends, people. So we had a fun discussion. That's what all of them are about, right? It's making friends and then having an educated discussion about problems that aren't usually covered in schools. And it was great to see that some people even knew stuff already, but yeah, it was at first it's scary because you start noticing them more after that. But yeah, in the end, it worked out really well, and I'm really glad I did it. Yeah.
Great. I think it's worth mentioning just for everybody, just to make everyone aware. The Renew program, the Healthy Teens places that we provide these 4 sessions of peer education in the school, using students to work with students. They're supported by wellness check-ins that are provided by Telemann Therapy, and Ali provides the kind of organization and administration of the whole program. And the basis of our curriculum for Renew is actually a trauma-informed education curriculum that we developed with SRQ Strong 2 or 3 years ago. So that's the kind of the full circle, is that Healthy Teens partner with SRQ Strong, developed this trauma-informed care program called the Trauma Leadership Core. That program is now an integral part of our work. We actually offer it to any of our students or educators who demonstrate their commitment and their maturity to handle that content like Anthony did. And then we thought, when we were partnering with Ali, we thought this is the perfect curriculum to use for Renew. is all about tackling toxic stress, tackling anxiety, and putting some positive things in place. So that was an awesome thing. So I think what do you think the impact's been for you and for those in the program? What can you kind of share some of the things that you talked about, and also why you think it's been such a valuable program in your school?
Personally, it like I've just grown a lot from the experiences you guys, like the opportunities you've given us. Like I even got an email today. I got an email about a scholarship that you guys were telling us about, and that not only is that a big opportunity, but there's been so many, like the speaking here, and I spoke at another event before, like a month ago, and then just the skills of speaking to like even peers is just like I think that's invaluable. Like a lot of kids don't get that, and it's not just me getting that. It's a group of 50, a lot of kids. I can't count that. Like there's a lot of people there, and I feel like it's like more than just that education, but this experience. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Anthony. I mean, the Renew program for me, like I was seeing, we had some of the participants from the school thinking they were in trouble by being on this program, and sort of not being sure what was going on. And they realized they're just in a room with other students talking about things that are they're actually really important, and opening up their understanding, and that they can take some control of their own mental health, and they have things that they can do, understand their brains, understand their bodies, understand what to do about those things, grow in resiliency and grow in self-care. So I just think it's really cool. The reason I love what I do is watching students like Anthony go from being terrified of something like this we're doing right now to comfortably being on a webinar like this, but more importantly, making a difference in his community, realizing that he has a voice, he can help others to have a voice and to make changes in their lives. So Anthony, do you have anything else you want to add to the conversation? You're going to get a chance later on as well, but I felt that there was a question I was supposed to ask you that I haven't asked. I'm going to make sure I check my notes. Okay, yes, I do have one more. Can you just give your view? Why should people attending this webinar care about providing this kind of mental health support, particularly like in the preventative space? Like, why should we care about doing this before someone gets to a crisis, from your perspective?
Yeah, I feel like we touched on this before, but if you prevent in a hypothetical, if you prevent a any situation from happening, it's so much easier than dealing with the after effects. Like if someone had, tried drugs and it just went completely downhill from there, rehab, it's not only more expensive, but that's just a terrible process to go down rather than telling them right there and then and there, don't do this. And some people don't even have people to tell them, don't do this. Like it's so even just that small thing is very helpful with teaching people. And I think that's where the power is here. That preventative aspect. Yeah.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Andrew, for giving us a chance to, and that's really strong for telling that story. So thank you.
Thank you both for that. And we are using our time wisely today. So I wanted to ask a quick question of Anthony, if it's okay, just to I know that some people join these community conversations to hear about what it's like for people who are dealing with some trauma, with some stress, toxic stress, with some issues that youth may be dealing with right now as we speak. So I wanted to ask you, John or Anthony, if you could say a little bit about what are some of the things you are seeing, hearing from your peers. Of course, we're not going to name names, and we're not going to, talk about confidential information, but can you give us an idea of some of the stress that your peers are under and some of the things that maybe you've helped people with in kind of general terms?
Yeah, I've seen some pretty crazy things, like especially one at the Renew program. A lot of like divorce can be like a crazy, like just kick to the head for some kids. Like not only destroying their school, their education, but like their social aspect as well. Like there's a lot of terrible things that happen. Like, and that's just at my school. We went to those Palmetto Boys and Girls Club and stuff, and that's just there's just so many different home situations, how like drugs can affect these things. And where was I going with that? Yeah, there's a lot of like bad things, and it like seems like it's visibly taking a toll on kids, and it's not okay. And I'm really glad I'm trying my best to help, I was trying to repeat yeah.
No, that's great. Thank you. I can imagine that there are some pretty stressful family situations going on that you hear about as a teen um, educator and kind of counselor role. So thank you for that. Jonathan, anything that you wanted to add related to my question before we go on?
I mean, I could invite Valerie's perspective on that because she has a lot of experience with them being on the spot. But I think that when it comes to the prevention space, because I'm aware that we're going to talk about different services and different levels of service, but in the prevention space, the thing that I've learned is most important is that a lot of young people they want a space to talk about these things well before they become an issue. They're dealing with a lot. I've learned a huge amount about just the value of understanding the kid's home situation, as Anthony says, is going to have a huge effect on all kinds of things, and we should give them a lot of grace in those situations. But when you give them the opportunity to understand themselves and to ask those questions that they haven't really been asking to anyone else, it really is powerful. We've seen that. It's why Healthy Teens exists. I mean, that's what we're trying to do is provide the most natural, easy way for these youth to have those conversations, because sometimes they're intimidated by an adult. So we have to do, we're all part of the same solution. Like, we're not saying that peer education is the only thing we do, but it's a part of the process, and I think that they do value those opportunities, those benefits.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Valerie, did you want to add something to that? I know Jonathan kind of tipped his hat to you. So anything you want to add?
I just kind of want to reiterate what he said is so very, very true. Sometimes just that space, that safe space to be able to share what's going on and know that you can go to someone that can help connect you to the proper people is invaluable. We've had some experiences with that lately, and being a connector, being a place to guide young people, saying this is a safe space, you can share with us, you can talk to us. I would say sometimes that's 50% of the solution.
Very good. Thank you. Allie, anything you want to add before I introduce our next two speakers?
Again, to underscore what Anthony was saying and what his experience has been as a teen health educator. From a parent's perspective, we have to remember that our teens are scared they're going to worry us. That's why they're not coming to us. That's why your teen is not going to come and say, "Mom, I'm thinking of harming myself." So it's up to us as parents to open those conversations, but to know that my child, who is also a senior in high school, has friends like Anthony, but has access to peers like Anthony who have those connections, that if my daughter didn't feel comfortable coming to me, that she could go to her friend and say, "Hey, this is how I'm feeling. Do you know who I might be able to talk to?" Because they don't want us to worry and they don't want to scare us. So to have these peers placed all throughout Manatee and Sarasota counties is, I think, bigger than any of us even realize now, because this is going to save somebody's life.
And probably already has, right? Thank you.
Thank
you. And thanks for the parents' perspective on this. Thank you, Allie. Valerie?
Andrea, I just want to say very quickly, these conversations are allowing us to normalize this, and that's a big, big part of it. Not too long ago, I heard a group of young African-American males talking about mental health and therapy. That just blew me away. And the more that they think, this is something I can talk to my friends, my peers, and others about, the more they're going to be likely to seek the help that they need and be able to feel like, yes, I'm okay for doing this. This is not a stigma anymore. So we really want to get rid of that stigma.
Yeah, thank you. Very important. Very important. All right, so let's go to our next two speakers, and they're going to give us a little bit broader perspective of some of the resources that are available out there right now in our community for youth and families. And so I'm going to turn it over to Jessica Kruger from Stone and Sarah Sanders. If you want to give us a little bit broader perspective, and then we'll have our community conversation where people can ask questions and share things that they would like to share with the group.
All right, well, I would love to actually piggyback on what Anthony's talking about with our, with the Healthy Teens group and the preventative measures that that group can take for our students, because it kind of ties in with what is state law, and that we must provide our students in grades 6 through 12 with at a minimum of 5 hours of education every year related to resiliency and mental health. So while we talk about the services we can provide within the district, usually the services we provide tend to be a reactive type of service. However, the state law that requires that minimum number of hours of education and resiliency and mental health is part of that preventative measure our state wanted to take. So it's really great that we have teens like Anthony and his friends out there, talking to others, providing that teen mental health first aid training to other teenagers, because like you said, teens prefer to hear information from teens. On the flip side, with all of our staff within the school district, we take that preventative measure and we provide youth mental health first aid training for all of our staff members. That's also a state law that requires that 80% of all school district staff are trained in recognizing signs and symptoms of mental health issues, challenges, and illnesses within their students. Our bus drivers are required trainees. Our cafeteria workers are required trainees. So it's not just about our people who are in the classrooms, it's about all of our staff who interact with these students on a daily basis. So that's the preventative measure we can take with our staff within the school district. And again, that minimum required education for our teenagers. And of course, Jessica, you guys provide some great intervention programs from Centerstone that you guys come into the schools and provide. So if you want to chat about that for a second.
Sure. And then for anyone who doesn't know, Centerstone is one of the larger nonprofit providers of mental health care and addiction services in the area. And our prevention programming has been around for a long time. I've been there for 10 years and it predates me by at least 3 to 5. We were trying to kind of pinpoint the timeline the other day and it was hard. It went back. And our programs are pretty traditional. We have services for adults, but primarily youth. We're able to offer a lot of evidence-based curriculums that we work with students, grades kindergarten through 12th. We're able to do it in a one-on-one setting for students who are really more appropriate for some targeted care. And then we're able to go in classroom style and have kind of a larger conversation with everybody in that setting where they already are. And that's why our partnership with the school district has been so vital to maintaining and expanding this program over the years. And really kind of our big goal with prevention is meeting people where they are. And that's sort of the unique piece of this. When we're going out into the community and offering these services and we're going to the schools, we're eliminating a lot of those barriers. We're able to provide it at no cost. We're coming to them. We're not asking somebody who's already experiencing a lot of struggles or, difficulties to do the commute, to find the, finances to cover something. And that can be a lot to ask somebody when they're in a difficult space. And it's that lighter touch. It's kind of a gateway strategy, as I call it, because we're kind of having those early conversations about skill building and making safe choices and avoiding risky situations in a way that doesn't require as much vulnerability, maybe from groups that are not always as comfortable or ready to kind of come into the office and have some of those more intense personal conversations. It makes a huge difference. And the conversations that we're having with them, our curriculum on paper may seem kind of simple: communication skills, social skills, how we're treating each other, self-care. the conversations they have look different with every single group. We're able to take that basic framework and then it's able to evolve in whatever it needs to be for the people that are in front of us when we're doing it. And it really is so unique and I think kind of overlooked sometimes on a larger scale. But it's great because the conversations continue after that meeting, continue in the cafeteria, on the bus on the way home, with their siblings when they get home, with their parents. And the trickle down effect of that just is huge. And in the 10 years I've been here, there've been more conversations than I could count where somebody said, oh, we loved it when, everybody came over to the school and covered these things and we did our groups every year and we remember X, Y, Z. They remember more things than I do sometimes about different lessons and activities. And we're able to kind of work in fun, more relaxed ways to cover these topics. It just is great. There is no shortage of need in our community for this. And that's sort of what I love about this area is all of these different partners work together. We're all having conversations. If there's something that a school needs that maybe I can offer within the structure of my grant, I'm getting on the phone with somebody at Healthy Teens, or I'm calling Allie at North River Prevention Partners. We're all talking all the time. We're in those meetings. I would say the community collaboration that we have in this regional area is one of our biggest strong suits, just in terms of getting everybody access to the right services, the right places.
Absolutely. And, we definitely enjoy partnering with you guys. We are so appreciative of all of the classroom lessons because as much as our school counselors who are on their campuses every day would love to go into the classrooms as often, as daily, weekly, monthly, they are just saddled with so many other responsibilities as well. So despite the fact that we have on staff almost 100 school counselors among our 51 schools right now, that's just not enough. They are tasked with a comprehensive school counseling program and sometimes, being the test coordinator and sometimes being the person managing ESOL, or sometimes being in charge of the intensive support team for their school, that their ability to be on the specials rotation so that, their students can get them once a week just doesn't happen as much as we would love to see it. In addition, we have 21 school psychologists on staff within the school district, and they are stretched a little thin. I won't discount the fact that we are 2 people short currently, but they all have 2 to 3 schools apiece to take care of. So when they're in, 3 schools a week, that only gives them about a day and a half, to spend on campus with their students. So at our secondary schools, we're able to provide a lot more mental health support than we are in our elementary schools, just because at the elementary level, that's where we tend to also be evaluation heavy when looking at learning disabilities or giftedness, or whether or not a student has an emotional or behavioral disability. That's what our school psychologists spend a lot of their time doing. Unfortunately, instead of doing some of those small groups for social skills or anger management or grief groups or, some of those trauma-informed practices that we would love to do. We're lucky enough to have 31 school social workers on staff as well within the district. 20 of them are itinerant, so they visit 2 to 3 schools apiece each week as well. And then we have some program or school-based people. So we were able to find some grant funding this year to provide 6 schools with full-time school social workers, which is fantastic for those schools. And that tends to be some of our secondary schools, as well as our school that we have for our students with mental health challenges. They have a full-time social worker. And then we have a full-time social worker at one of our MCR community partnership schools. So the students at that school are able to get either assistance from their school-based therapist, their school-based counselor, their school-based psychologist, their school-based social worker, or the social worker that we have out in the clinic. So that's really fantastic. And then, because all of those people are not enough, we partner with awesome people like you guys, Jessica, over at Centerstone. I think we have 9 of you guys right now servicing 25 schools, which is still too many schools for, 9 people to share. But we're hoping that, by teaming everybody up with a psychologist, a social worker, and a mental health therapist at each school, that the students who need the most support are receiving it. Absolutely. We also partner with Palm Shores. They provide us with 6 therapists for 11 different schools. So we do have, we luckily just received a resiliency grant from the state. So we were able to hire 3 more therapists full-time in some of our secondary schools, which is amazing. Anthony's school is going to get one next month. I'm so excited about that. And then the Florida Center for Early Childhood based in Sarasota, they are amazing. And we have 11 therapists from them that cover 12 schools. So we have 10 elementary schools that have full-time mental health therapists every single day. And then we have 2 schools that share a therapist just because they have a little bit of a smaller population, still have the need, but not as many students. So we are so grateful for all of our community partners. I've got to get in with you guys, Valerie and Jonathan, to find out more about Healthy Teens and what we can do up here in Manatee County. But yeah, it is just amazing partnering with everybody, having this great community foundation and support, because we all know our students need it. And I would love so much more for us to be on the proactive side and that preventative side before we have to react as much as we do. But as we all know, when students are coming to us from backgrounds full of trauma, all we can do is react at that point. So it's because of all of you guys that we're able to provide those students with the support here in Manatee County. Because these, if I totaled it up real quick, these 175 people just still aren't enough for our 55,000 kids.
Yeah, and I think it is definitely, it's a long game. Kind of perseverance is the key with this. And I always tell people when we're bringing them on or we have interns that it's going to look a little different every single year. It might be the same program, it might be the same, job title and kind of basic outline, but the need is going to present a little bit differently. It's always going to be kind of evolving and shifting, and the way that we're going to have to do it will be a little different. And then just the landscape of where we're doing the services, the focuses that school staff are going to be pulled to look at and deal with shifts. And the beauty of us not being too compartmentalized and really working together is that it is this wraparound care. Our staff know what the social worker saw on Tuesday, even though we're only there on Thursday. Like, that's incredibly valuable. Yeah. And a lot of times when some of us who are the mental health kind of provider side of things coming into that school setting or doing things, there can be like a gap in communication from the parents if they aren't there or available or accessible during the time that we have allocated for that school. The work that we do together with everybody really enables us to provide them with the best quality of services and then the most accurate and quick connection to the other support systems that they need. So it just really, prevention working together with everybody has been really big. I've seen it make a huge difference in the way we're able to execute things in this county compared to some other regions. And I'm really proud of that. And I'm so glad I've been able to be a part of that for the last 10 years.
It's been a great partnership. I think we've been partnering with you guys. This is our 6th year, maybe, with the school-based therapists. And even in these 6 years, it's been such a difference.
Yes, so everybody, our whole team here is great. Everybody that we've had on tonight, we've worked with, and it's been so wonderful doing a lot of different things, a lot of different focuses. We've used a lot of different kind of curriculums, different activities and events over the years. I think we all do a really good job at finding creative solutions.
Yes, and we thank you and all of your partners for what you're providing in the community. And we want to get to our, unless you have something to add, Sarah or Jessica, we're going to get to our community conversation here and see what questions, comments some of our community may have for any of you who spoke tonight. One of the things I wanted to touch on just briefly is I heard the word collaboration so many times in what many of you said. And those of us with SRQ Strong and who dwell in the trauma-informed movement know that collaboration is one of our principles. And we really strive to collaborate so that we can serve our communities. And we just thank you all for being great collaborators. So let's get on with our conversation tonight from the community, see what questions people may have for some of you. There may be comments related to what you shared, and that's fine too. But the model of these forums that SRQ Strong has done now for several years is that we give our community a chance to share, to ask, to inquire. So I know that Annalise is monitoring the chat and probably has some
Yes.
questions that have already come up.
We
And
did
if
have
those-
one question come in.
Okay.
Yes. Christy asked, how could we find out more about the adult mental health first aid training that was referenced?
Can any of you address that?
So if you are interested in learning about recognizing signs and symptoms in our youth, you would actually want to attend a youth mental health first aid training. There is an adult version, but that's for recognizing signs and symptoms in adults. So it's a little bit different curriculum, but all you have to do, honestly, is Google mental health first aid, and you'll be able to search for courses that are being taught in your area.
I can tell you that for Manatee County, the Manatee County Department of Health offers those. If I'm not mistaken, they are at no cost to the participant. You should know going in that it is a full day for the youth mental health first aid training. It is a full day well spent. And those classes do fill up quickly. So again, you can Google mental health first aid, youth mental health first aid, or you can, I believe they have it on their website too at the Manatee Department of Health. I don't have that address, but that's who is offering it in Manatee.
And I do know we actually have a new a foundation. I cannot think of the name of the foundation right now. It just went right over my head. They're about to start providing trainings in Manatee and Sarasota as well. I just can't think of what it is.
All right, great. Well, we'll see if we can find that, or Sarah, if you run across it, let us know, and we'll try to get that word out too after the program tonight.
Absolutely. I might be meeting with the foundation president tomorrow. I think that might
Okay.
be tomorrow, so I can ask.
Great, great. Just let us know. All right. Any other questions in the chat or on Facebook Live?
I don't see any on Facebook Live. We have I'm sorry, a C Blackwell. Sorry, I don't see a face there.
Yes. See,
You can go ahead and unmute yourself if you want to ask your question. Absolutely.
Hi. Thank you so much. Okay.
Oh, there
so
you
I
are.
had a quick question, and I
Hi.
thought it might be a little faster instead of trying to type and and it moving
No,
along.
that's
before we
perfect.
started.
absolutely. Yeah, great.
perfect.
So my name's Courtney Blackwell. I'm the foster parent community specialist at Safe Children Coalition. Jonathan, I actually recognize, if you're still on, I recognize your face. I've gotten to meet you a few times at some events. So it was nice to see a familiar face. And I'm just incredibly moved by, I'm sorry, excuse me. Sorry, Anthony, I was incredibly moved by everything that you said, and it really got me thinking about a little bit more of a vulnerable population that we serve, which is our teens in our I'm sorry, my son's at dessert time and he doesn't realize I'm unmuted right now. I'm so sorry. So anyways, it really got me thinking about a vulnerable population that sometimes can be slightly underserved. And I'm thinking of our group homes. Oh, good. I'm so glad you couldn't hear him. That's good. So anyways, I was thinking about our group homes, and I would love the opportunity to, first off, Jonathan, I'd love the opportunity to chat with you a little bit more. I did get your personal email from my boss, Jeremy, while we were chatting, actually, and I hope it's okay that I can reach out to you. But I did want to ask, is there any way anybody that's been speaking tonight, because all this information is so amazing, is there more? And I don't even know if I'm 100% sure of what I want to ask, but I'm looking for more tangible resources that I can give kids that are in the specific situation that I'm looking at. So I'm looking at teens and young adults that are in the foster care system. And a lot of these things sound amazing, but their ability to get to and from places or to have consistency in showing up to things isn't always, it's not across the board going to be the same as maybe for a more traditional family setting. So that's kind of my question. Is there a really more tangible place that I could get some information to get out to my foster families or to get to my group home for these kids?
I know
Anyone?
we've actually been looking at serving some of the youth that are in those group homes. We do have a program, our youth intervention program focuses a lot on teenagers who are kind of dealing with some more complex things that probably need to be discussed outside of the classroom setting. And I would say probably pre-COVID, we were serving a fair amount of Safe Children's Coalition students, but I have seen a little bit of a dip in that with the staffing changes that we had with the pandemic and all of the shifts that you guys had to make
Same here.
procedurally.
Yeah.
But it's absolutely a population we were just discussing, trying to kind of reapproach and get in with, because we know that they are left with kind of limited services and they don't have the transportation piece that some of the other students do. So I would love to, you know, connect later and discuss some of you guys.
I was going to say, if we could exchange emails, I would love that, because it really is, it's that kind of, and I don't want to say it's underserved, because I'm not trying to do injustice to all the work that is done for them, but being some of them in the situations that they're in, it's limited. They're limited in a lot of ways. And those conversations, like Anthony was talking about, those conversations that really need and should be had can't necessarily happen for them. So I'd love to be able to bring a more tangible resource to those kids. So yeah, Jessica, if that's okay with you, I'd love to reach out to you, and Jonathan, if it's all right with you, I'd love to chat with you a little bit more as well.
Absolutely. I'll put my email in.
Thank you.
Just out on the back of that, we did a program down in partnership with NAMI, the Yana center, where they hosted us, and we actually had a load of kids from Teen Court, but also from Safe Children. The Palmetto group home came down to go to Sarasota, and we did essentially the same program as Renew, the same kind of material with them in a in-person setting. Now, I hear what you're saying. It's hard to get those teens to a location sometimes. We're good to come. We can send our teens anywhere. We do it twice a week. We're in the Safe Place to Be youth shelter down in Bradenton. Like, these kids are used to working with, you know, other peers who are in really difficult circumstances. I think Anthony mentioned Safe Place to Be, and you know, I don't hear it so much now, but when I first started working with healthy teens, I get this question of like, wait a minute, so you're not just providing mental health support to teens, you're providing it through teens. And like, yeah, they can handle it, and they can do it, and they're really effective. I would also say we do some things virtual as well. So sometimes virtual can help. I tend to find that it helps once people know each other. But it's not so good for when you're trying to build a rapport with people. But once you've got that rapport, you can maintain some of these resources and supports to people. So yeah, very willing to have a conversation, because you know we want to make sure we're helping those who really need that support.
I would say that's wonderful to hear. Jeremy, actually, he spoke volumes about you. He had a lot of awesome things to say. So
Nice.
I was texting him when you were talking, and I was like, oh, I just want to chat a little bit more. So I'll reach out to both of you guys after, and I look forward to talking with you guys a little bit more.
There were also a couple more resources added in the chat there from Dr. Herrera
thank you.
and Jessica Polk. So yeah, we'll definitely include those resources along with the recording and recap of this event tonight for anyone who couldn't tune in or is on Facebook Live and cannot see what's happening in our chat currently.
Thank you again for your time, guys.
Thank you for your question, Courtney. And Dr. Herrera, I noticed you put several things in the chat. Is there anything that you wanted to say to this group tonight or add to the conversation?
I just want to thank you all for having the conversation. I think true to SRQ's strong form, for us to continue to collaborate and share resources is so valuable at this time. We know how challenging it is for families to navigate the behavioral health system, and we know how important it is to go upstream and attempt to provide some of this preventative care. So just keep asking questions is what I would tell people, and ask somebody. And if you as an individual are being asked, reach out to someone else who might know. There are so many great programs in the county at this time, And if we continue to come together, we're going to figure this out. The Renew program honestly started out of a conversation after SRQ Strong worked with Healthy Teens, and then Healthy Teens spoke with Ali. And so we just all came together in this kind of exciting space to be able to really allow teens to flourish after this peer-to-peer education, and then doing a 90-minute check-in with them to really kind of say, like, this is kind of what therapy looks like, but really here are some additional resources after the 90 minutes. So it's been an excellent collaboration. I think it's taking a lot longer than we all had anticipated, because in our minds, it's great and it's going to work. But with all great things, you know, as Jessica was sharing about Centerstone's work with the school districts, it just takes time. And we just have to keep forging ahead. So thanks again for having the conversation.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you for your part in this with Renew and some of the work that you're doing with these partners. Thank you. All right. Any other questions come up with Facebook Live or the chat, Annalise?
I don't see anything else in the chat here. Let me pop over to Facebook. We do not. If anyone else wanted to.
Can I just point out very quickly,
Please,
put in the
Allie.
chat, because we've been talking about Renew a lot, but we never really went into detail exactly about what it is. And it takes much longer than we probably have left. But www.renewteenhealth.org. If you visit that, that'll tell you all about the program, what wellness check-ins are, how the program works, the partners in the program. And again, currently it is in a pilot phase. We are working with students, administration, and faculty at Palmetto High School who've just been absolutely amazing in welcoming us and allowing us to talk to their students in this way. So if you want to learn a little bit more about it, the website is there along with my email, and Jonathan put his as well. And Dr. Herrera, as she stated, that her team is also in on this too. So it's really something that we're all excited about, and it's worth learning a little bit more about.
Really great. Thank you, Allie. And let me, unless there are other questions, I'm going to pop in with one of my own. All right. Please, everyone, feel free to ask your question or make your comments, share things that you know about that this group would like to know about. Allie, I wanted to ask, I know we didn't want to go into a lot of detail about Renew, but can you help us see again, there's the distinctions between Healthy Teens and Renew, and
Yes.
then where they overlap, how they're connected. Just for those of us who are getting our mind around this tonight.
I'll be happy to. Renew, again, stands for Reducing Negativity, Elevating Wellness. It is a primary multi-tiered program meant to promote good mental health and help us to identify those students who might be heading toward a mental health crisis and then preventing that crisis. So students who are participating in the program will meet with Healthy Teens 4 times in a month. So once a week, 4 times. Healthy Teens talks about all the stuff that they talk about. They're trauma-informed, trained kids. So anything that you can think about, they're addressing. But they do have a curriculum that they follow for the participants. At the end, they do goal setting. And so these kids are walking away with little treatment plans, if you will. During that time, they're also going to be able to access via telemedicine a 90-minute wellness check-in with a licensed mental health provider from Telemed Therapy. And this is not a time to diagnose. It's not therapy. It is a wellness check-in. And there will be more about what that actually is on the website. We have information for parents and students. Students get to talk about whatever they want to talk about, whether it's their favorite flavor of gum or the person who has the fake Stanley Cup, not the real one. So whatever these students need to talk about with somebody who has a little bit of professional background, they're going to be able to do that. They will also have, after the program is over, a 30-minute follow-up wellness check-in with that same therapist. This is going to help us identify those students who might need further therapeutic support. And for those students, we have some funding set aside so that they can access more the therapeutic support that they need, they could be referred out to a different organization, company, different things that program like this is going to help us identify. There's no doubt in any of our minds that this is something that's very valuable, that anybody and everybody should have access to and be able to participate in something like this. We all get physical checkups every year. If you're an athlete, you have to have that sign off before you play on the court or on the field or on the baseball diamond, things like that. So we want to make sure that the kids feel supported, that when they're talking to their wellness during their wellness check-in, and they're going to be able to do that in little groups too. So not just individual, but as they're talking through these things that are bothering them, maybe they're starting to identify even for themselves, okay, this is just a normal adolescent thing. It's not anything super important or super, pressing. But some of them really are going to find out that what they're going through is something that really needs to be addressed in a deeper way. So to that end, it's definitely primary prevention. We are definitely fishing kids out of the pond before they start drowning. And that will save somebody's life. And I see that someone's asking how Palmetto High students get involved with Renew as a mentor. Renew right now is the mentors are teen health educators. They're not just Palmetto High School students. Anthony happens to be both of those things. So that's how he was able to kind of get in on that. But that is how we're doing that through Palmetto. And like I said, it's a pilot program right now. We're learning a lot. We were able over the summer to provide this program to students at the Kelly Brown Center and Anna Gale Resource Center through their summer program. And we're about to start our third cohort at Palmetto. And this time we're doing it with athletes. So we're going to have lots of really interesting new things to learn. And we're just so excited about it.
It's really great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And exciting to learn that there's going to be a pilot with athletes,
Yes.
knowing that there's some pressure there, right? There are pressures on athletes that sometimes we forget they're facing. So,
yes.
Okay.
One of the things I want to point out that we've been able to be, you talked about pressure, and athletes are under pressure, and all these kids that the academic pressure that these kids can come under is significant. And Palmetto is a high school that has a rigorous academic program called the ACE program. Southeast has IB. So many of our schools have these rigorous academic programs that really require a lot of students. And sometimes we're not always equipping them mentally, emotionally, with the tools that they need to get through these. So maybe a program like Renew is helpful for that way too.
Very good. Yes, absolutely. Okay, I have hands up. So Jonathan, you were first.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So I wanted to piggyback off the back of what Ali was saying. I'm not lost to tell you my train of thought. Waited too long. So with the teen health educators doing the mentoring, right now we're providing that service. It's a great plug to say you can go on our website and youth can sign up to be one. So if they've got teens who want to be a teen health educator, they can get involved that way and become a mentor that way with that program and other things that we're doing. I kind of observed the Kelly Brown program from afar over the summer, but something that really struck me was we really do have a challenge around the stigma still about talking about the idea of mental health support, the word counseling, therapy. And we saw it firsthand because Ali kept telling me, well, the student wants it, but the parent doesn't want it, or the parent wants it and the student doesn't want it, and they never seem to match up at all. You've got some cultural issues, you've got some family issues, you've got some personal, all kinds of factors kind of filtering around. And literally, we thought we had things set up with certain students to find out that actually the parent didn't know what it was, and even though we told them, and they kind of pulled the plug on it. And that is a very complex set of issues. But it's something that struck me that I think it's amazing that there is this 5 hours in schools to have that education. And there's also something, the normalizing of it's okay to talk about these things every day is also a big challenge. And it's something that we need to work on really hard. The other thing that you talking about athletes, it was something that I brought up with Ali as well, because Lakewood Ranch High School did an incredible event last year for student athlete sport. I randomly was at a school board meeting where the person who Sydney, who ran that event, was receiving an award from the school board for her work with students in her role, but she did an amazing job with that event. Very, quite sad reasoning for why it happened, but just thought these students are coming under all kinds of pressures academically with their sports. We all get wrapped up in our perspectives on things, and again, we need to tackle the stigma thing. We need help. We need just consistently, regularly, all the time, talk about how normal this stuff is. The very last thing I'll say is Ethan Weiss, who's from Telemann, he does something that he really changed my perspective on mental health, because I was reading the front of our advert for today, mental health prevention, and I was like, wait a minute, we don't want to prevent mental health. We want good mental health. Mental health prevention, we all know what that means. We want to prevent mental health challenges, but what it actually says is mental health prevention. Actually, what we want is we want positive mental health. We want to build kids up. We want to build each other up. Nobody gets excited by avoiding a broken leg, but they might get excited by the idea of being strong and able to do amazing things, lift weights. He's thinking about his next target or whatever. So we don't get inspired by avoiding negativity. We get inspired by going for something positive. And so I think that framing that is not there. Counseling is not because there's something wrong. It's because we want to do something. We want to build something good. I think some of that framing could help with normalizing this conversation. It's my optimistic, naive perspective.
That's really great. That's really great. Thank you, Jonathan. And I think wise counsel for all of us to think about. Sarah, you had your hand up.
Sure. So Allie, just real quick question. Those sessions between the Palmetto High students and the mentors, do they happen during school hours?
They do not.
Okay. Because I was curious about that, because it could be a barrier for some of our kids who need.
No, yes, they do not. And those are some of those barriers we were able to work through before we ever offered the program to any school. Some of my substance abuse work is with school and during classes stuff. So I know that there's a barrier there.
Yeah.
So no, none of that happens during school hours. I will tell you though that we did make it available because the wellness check-ins are via telemedicine, via video conference. We know that some students do not live in safe spaces. They do not live in quiet spaces. They do not have access maybe to internet or something like that. And so then they would be able to access in a quiet space at school during a quiet moment kind of a thing. But as far as the mentoring, no.
Okay. And then Jonathan, to piggyback on what you were talking about, that wellness symposium that was at Lakewood Ranch High School. So I was actually going to reach out to you guys. I have a meeting about that tomorrow. We have another one scheduled. It will be April 17th at Braden River High School, open to all Manatee County High School students. And it'll be on the 17th from 3 to 6. So if Healthy Teens, Telemann Therapy, North River Prevention Partners would like to come be a vendor at the event, I will send you guys an email and see if that date can work for you guys. But yes, we do have a wellness symposium coming up for all Manatee County High School students on April 17th.
Very good. Good public and information announcement.
Jonathan started it.
All right. Other questions, comments? I think we probably have time for one or two more questions. And I think I just saw somebody post a comment in the chat. Hope it's okay, Colleen, if I read this. Or do you want to say it out loud, Colleen? Okay,
No,
I'll
go
say
ahead,
it.
read it. Go ahead.
Okay. Prior to moving to Florida, I worked at a college in Ohio, and imposter syndrome was one of the biggest issues for incoming students. These programs will really help students. So I'm assuming this means that you are seeing some imposter syndrome issues and already dealing with that in these programs. Anybody want to say anything about that real quick?
Can I talk about that from a parent's perspective for a second?
Please, Allie,
I
please.
actually
That'd be
have,
great.
my older daughter is a junior at the University of Florida, and she experienced some of this. It's these, even our state schools, the admissions are so narrow. It's hard to get into the University of Florida. It's hard to get into Florida State University. It is not a given that these kids are going to get into state schools anymore. And Anthony wasn't kidding when he's like, I'm trying to go to UF. Anthony is an amazing student, but he's trying to go to UF. And so it's really, really hard. And when they get to these prestigious state schools, private schools, whatever, they're surrounded by everybody else who is amazing at school too. And so it can be very, very overwhelming. Thankfully, our larger universities at least have do address this, and there were resources for my older student, but for my younger daughter who is getting ready to go off to college herself, that's something that we talk about all the time. You're here because you deserve to be. You're in this program because you deserve to be. You've got this grade because you earned it. It's a ongoing conversation, at least in my house, that there are no imposters here. Everybody who's has what they deserved and what they worked for and what they earned. So I'm so glad that Colleen said that, because that's absolutely huge. When somebody doesn't feel like deserve what they have or what's coming their way, it's devastating, and it can be absolutely crisis inducing for sure.
Yes, thank you. Kara, I saw that you commented in the chat. Would you like to say it? Can you do that, or you want me to read it?
Oh, and just
Oh, there you are.
echoing what was said. Thank you all for having this event. I believe so strongly in the peer education model, and I'm delighted to work with a lot of peer educators in Sarasota and Manatee. It's a shame that adults can't always do more. It's amazing what the teens are doing, but we definitely do have to break down the stigma, because if one of our teens convinces their friend to reach out and tell an adult what's going on in their lives, it's a shame if the parents or other adults are in there stepping in as a barrier. And the thing I just wanted to just echo and just, we all know people, some of us, for me, it's myself and others that have non-traditional career paths, that didn't go to their top choice school, that went to school later, that studied different things, that started at a small school, started in a college program, went to university, to all that stuff. Please model that for young people, because the anxiety does not help them learn. I know it can seem great if students are focused on high grades. That means they're interested in learning, but let's make sure they're interested in learning, not just their grades, because at the end of the day, that's actually working against their learning, that pressure.
So important. So important. Thank you, Kira. All right. Any comments about that or anything else from our speakers before I sort of wrap this up? Anything else that you wanted to add? Anthony, anything you want to add? I say you're the star of the show because of the work you're doing right now, and that you're you and the other teen peer educators are really doing an amazing job. Anything you'd like to add or tell the folks on this community conversation today?
Nothing much. Just thank you for the opportunity to let me speak to all of you guys about my experience. It's been great. Thanks.
We so appreciate you and thank you. And just, it's one thing to be working hard in school and doing all the things that we all need to do in school, and then to take on this extra important community impact work. We just really appreciate and acknowledge you for that. And thank you to all of our speakers tonight. I have just a few things I want to make sure I announce to you on behalf of SRQ Strong. We just so appreciate this kind of conversation and the engagement of everyone, the presenters. Thank you. Again, I want to remind you that this was recorded, so it's going to be available for later viewing. For anyone who missed it, or if you missed part of it, or you need to go back and listen to something again, you can view this immediately in our archive of Facebook Live videos on our Facebook page, Sarasota Strong's Facebook page. It's also going to be sent out in an email to anyone on our mailing list in a couple of days. And we'll add to that resources that were discussed tonight, some of the events that were mentioned in the public service announcements, which we so appreciate. And you can sign up on our website for the mailing list, or by emailing us again at sarasotastrong@gmail.com. If you want to make sure you're on that list and you get notice of these kinds of conversations and other events that SRQ Strong will be hosting. I want to make sure to tell you to save the date of Tuesday, March 12th from 7 to 9 p.m. We're going to have a public talk and event at the Universal Unitarian Church on Fruitville Road in Sarasota. And we're so excited because Father Paul Abernathy, who is the founder and CEO of the Neighborhood Resilience Project in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The Neighborhood Resilience Project is a community approach to healing from trauma. And we're excited to be welcoming Father Paul back with us because he's really the inspiration for the founding of SRQ Strong. His model with the Neighborhood Resilience Project really helped us take a community approach to building a community that cares for itself and becoming trauma informed and holding these kinds of community meetings and events. So we got a lot of our start from people who got to go to some training with Father Paul and learn about what the success he's had up there in Pennsylvania. And we're bringing him back to Sarasota so that you can meet him and hear from him on March 12th. So you'll get more details about that if you're on our mailing list. I know that Annalise will be posting updates on the website, and we just invite all of you to come to that community conversation, which will be held in person in March. All right, Annalise, did I touch on everything I needed to touch on? I know you'll have something to add because you're the one.
No, you covered everything. You did amazing. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Thank you to our amazing speakers. Thank you, Andrea, for being an amazing facilitator. What a great
You bet.
conversation. And yeah, just a reminder, we're doing these every other month now, so we will have February off, and we'll hopefully see you all in person in March.
Thank you, everyone who joined us. Thank you to all of our speakers, and thank you for the amazing work that many of you on this Zoom are participating in on behalf of our community. Thank you.
Yep.
All right, with that, we'll sign off.
Bye.
Bye,
Thank you
everyone.
so much.